Remember Freaky Friday? I'm talking about the original 1976 version, where the rebellious daughter, played by Jodie Foster, butts heads with her TV mom, Barbara Harris. Both believe that the other has an easier life and wish, at the exact same time, that they could switch places. Magically, their wishes come true, and they wake up in each other's bodies. Chaos ensues as they are forced to live a life that neither was prepared for. That parent-child switcheroo is a recurring theme in the movies of my youth, and for good reason. For many of us, when your parent hits a certain age, something happens, and you switch roles, like magic. They become the child, and you become the parent. Oftentimes, there's a precipitating event, such as a fall where they become injured, or even a heart attack or stroke. Can mom really live alone anymore? Welp, I don't know, but it's time to have the talk. And that's what today's episode is about. Confronting your elderly parent or loved one about their physical decline or functional limitations is rarely an easy topic for discussion. In the best case scenario, your parent has put together the perfect plan for their golden years. They recognize instantly that they can no longer drive or pay bills or live alone. And they have the emotional or financial wherewithal to move into their next phase, whether it's independent, assisted, or nursing. They have a plan in place to take care of everything, and you, the adult child, are off the hook entirely. Yeah, that's as likely as making a wish come true with a fortune cookie. Let's face it, the more likely scenario is that your elderly loved one simply doesn't see their decline or deficits in real time. And they don't take kindly to the idea that their kid might take away their car keys or need to take over the checkbook. But the reality is, at some point, the people closest to them have to step in and become the parent. For those of us with some military background, you can generally muscle your way into the conversation. With my mom, the talk went something like this. Okay, Mom, we can do this my way or we can do it the wrong way. Which do you prefer? I realize this approach may not work for everyone, but the bottom line is this. You've got to take the reins and develop a plan and lead them into the next phase of their life. Here are a few tools that might make things easier. Number 1, clear the clutter. Clutter kills. It kills the spirit, and it kills the emotional and mental well-being of everyone who must navigate it. It prevents forward momentum by allowing people to live in the past. Clutter is a bunch of unmade decisions and unfulfilled issues, and I hesitate to say dreams, because clutter is a nightmare. As normal adults, we all tolerate a certain amount of clutter and disorder in our lives. The problem comes when the clutter overtakes our lives and makes us dysfunctional. For the elderly, especially with those with dementia or Alzheimer's, clutter is truly unsafe and in some cases can hasten their decline or disorientation. So make a plan to begin to clear the clutter. This is probably one of the most difficult phases on the road to a steady state with your elderly person. There are many books out there on how to approach this subject with your loved one, with lots of good advice. One of my favorites is The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning by Margareta Magnusson. The author makes great suggestions regarding which possessions you can easily get rid of, such as unworn clothes, unwanted presents, and more plates than you can ever use, and which things you might want to keep, like photographs, love letters, and a few of your children's art projects. Navigating this phase can be a real challenge, so don't hesitate to get help when you need it. There are paid professionals out there who can help with decluttering and organizing. And if you have siblings or other family members who can help, now is the time to press them into service. You can make a plan and do this part over a reasonable period of time. But don't take too long because it's got to get done. Number 2, bring a paid caregiver or helper into their home. This is often the first step that becomes a bridge to a longer-term plan. This could be a permanent thing or a temporary thing, or a temporary thing that becomes permanent, or a permanent temporary thing. Bringing in a paid caregiver can often help your parent come to the realization that they really do need help. It can also help them identify what they like and what they don't like when it comes to getting help. And it can even bring clarity into what the next phase will be for your elderly parent. But make no mistake, this is not an easy step. A paid caregiver is often seen as one step above a marauder or a pillager, a bandit, someone who invades your personal space with the sole intended purpose of moving things around just to piss you off. I remember the first time we brought Peggy in to help my mom. Why is she here? I don't need help. Why can't you clean out the fridge? And why do I need to pay someone to do that load of laundry? Do you know how many loads of laundry I did for you when you were a kid? For the first few months, Peggy took all the slings and arrows from my mom with remarkable grace, dignity, and dare I say joy. Yeah, Peggy was a saint. One of the really important added benefits from working with a professional caregiver is you can learn a lot from a paid caregiver, and the good ones are willing to teach you. At first, Peggy helped organize my mom's pill box, prep her meals, and did some shopping and light housekeeping. As time went on, Peggy took on more and more, and I watched and learned as she gave my mom a bath, helped her with toileting and dressing and other personal care. This gave me the knowledge and the confidence to know that I could actually do the same thing and take care of my mom at home. And even if that's not an option for you, the knowledge that you gain from watching a professional caregiver can help set expectations when your loved one moves into independent, assisted, or nursing care. Enlisting the help of a professional caregiver for any amount of time while they're still in their own home is an investment that will pay dividends for years to come. Number 3, going hand in glove with personal care is the topic of managing doctor appointments and chronic care conditions of your loved one. This can take an incredible amount of time and effort, depending on the general health and physical condition of your elderly parent. Diabetes, depression, chronic kidney disease, heart disease, CHF, COPD, anemia, wound care, neuropathy, chronic UTIs, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, hearing aids, vision loss. My mom has had all these conditions, and that means routine medical appointments and lab work for her primary care doctor, along with more than a dozen specialists. And that's a lot to manage, but I'll take that any day over one visit to the emergency room. Nothing sucks the life out of you like getting that midnight call that your parent has been taken to the ER. I will do anything and everything to avoid that call. For me, that means making and keeping all doctor appointments and lab appointments. And it means asking a lot of questions and writing everything down. I keep a diary for her doctor visits, her lab work, and her medications. Since, like most people, I have a full-time job, I try to schedule all her medical appointments in groups on 1 or 2 days per month, and I give my employer a heads up on those days. That takes me to the next topic, personal finances for your elderly loved one. Getting old is expensive, no matter how you slice it. And one of the tools that I found extremely useful was a written personal care agreement. This is essentially a written contract between the caregiver and the care recipient. It establishes what kind of care and services will be provided, when and where they will be provided, and how much those services cost. It's often used between family members, specifically between adult children and their parents who are in need of long-term care. While it may seem natural to provide care to family members without any kind of written or formal agreement, a PCA can help when it comes time to qualify your parent for long-term care in the future under Medicaid. The personal care agreement does this by providing proof that the beneficiary wasn't simply giving away their assets to become Medicaid eligible. Another example is when, let's say, a parent deeds her adult child their family home. If this is done as part of a PCA, it proves that the house was not merely a parental gift that is subject to inheritance tax. Rather, it shows there was consideration paid in the form of services. Talk to your attorney or financial advisor to determine if a personal care agreement is right for you or your elderly parent. Once you have their clutter cleared and contained, personal and medical care and finances under control, you are well on your way to getting your elder parent to that steady state. Nirvana. By this, I simply mean you've opened the door and ushered your elderly loved one into the next phase of their life. Whether that next phase is in your home or their home or in a long-term care home, well, that's a very personal decision that you'll be better equipped to make together. And we'll talk about that conversation in another episode of Raising Charlotta. Thanks for watching. If you find these videos helpful, be sure to hit like and subscribe. And in the comments section, I'd love to hear about when you had the talk with your elderly loved one. How did it go? What would you have done differently? And what advice do you have for other people who may be trying to care for their elderly parent at home? That's all for now. See you next time.